Hey everybody, how's it going? So today I'd like to explain why it is I'm not going to be taking the store on 6th Avenue and 30th Street, and this is probably going to be a little long-winded, but I just want to explain the whole thought process. So let's just go over from the beginning to the end, because this wasn't just one event, it was kind of a death by a thousand cuts kind of thing. The first thing was that there was the demolition clause. The demolition clause would have said that we can kick you out if we believe that somebody wants to buy the building or somebody wants to make a new structure here or whatever. We can just end your lease and kick you out. You get 6 months of free rent. I didn't like that. 6 months of free rent is not worth it, especially considering that many of the quotes that I'm getting from Oreo. Oreo's messing with my
Oreo's
phone.
nuzzling.
Oreo, stop that.
Oreo's nuzzling his hand while he's recording.
Oreo. Anyway, so fucking Oreo. Or demolition clause means they can kick you out at any given time that they ask. Give you 6 months notice, 6 months free rent. That's not good enough for me because, as you know from the spreadsheets I've been putting, many of the contractors I've been dealing with have been telling me that at a minimum, I'm looking at a $200,000 project. There are the other contractors that are trying to charge $300,000 to $400,000 to do the space. The average has been about $380,000. And again, Guy Who Knows a Guy Construction Inc. says 70 to maybe 50 to 60 to 70,000. And Guy Who Knows a Guy Inc. always winds up being more money. You always have to add 30% or so for Guy Who Knows a Guy Inc. in my experience. So I'd probably be looking about $100,000 in construction. So if I'm putting $100,000 into your space, you don't get to just kick me out and say we'll give you a few months of free rent, because a few months of free rent at $12,800 doesn't really mean much to me. So we were able to negotiate that up after some pearl clutching on the part of the landlord up to $200,000, and they will give me $20,000 off each year. So if they kick me out year 3, I will only get $160,000, and so on and so forth. The second thing was a deposit. So they said that they were going to charge a 3-month deposit, but that came out to about $53,000 or somewhere in there. That doesn't make sense because my rent is $12,833. Oh, they're basing it on the last 3 months of rent of my lease, not the first 3 months. That was the second part. That is non-standard. I've never heard of this in my life. And we managed to get that down to 3 months of the first 3 months, which comes out to like the high 30,000s. The next thing that happened, and this was pretty much the end for me. No, not the end, actually. Let me fast rewind a little here. The Oreo. He really wants attention. He's nuzzling my arm. The third thing that happened was the lease. They sent me a lease that was 64 pages. To be clear, my current lease that I have at 186 First Avenue, before I did any negotiating, this was a lease that was 15 pages. 15 pages. The restaurant was a 27-page lease. This was a 64-page lease. This lease says that I cannot teach classes. This lease says that I cannot bring my bicycle into the store. This lease specifies that I cannot have a goldfish. I mean, the amount of crap in this lease that I would have to cross out is just, it's astounding. I went over it in Discord the other day, and I posted many elements of it to you, and you know what I'm talking about if you were there that night that I posted the lease in Discord, that it's kind of ridiculous. And my attorney told me that they copied and pasted an office lease for a retail space, which is why there's all these silly things in it that typically wouldn't be there in a retail store lease. The last straw for me came to dealing with building management. So I saw that the month of October is mostly Jewish holidays. The managing agent or the leasing agent for the building that's coming up with the lease are, it's a Jewish, it seems like a family-owned Jewish company, and they're taking a lot of days off. This lease is ridiculous, and it's going to take quite a bit of back and forth negotiating. So that's going to take some time. So I figured I would make this work in my benefit. So if they gave me a good lease, like a little 15-page lease, every concession I wanted, easy breezy, beautiful cover girl, gave me keys, I would be paying rent right now on a space that I have no contractor for. I haven't found a contractor yet. The last thing I want to do is pay for a space that I'm not using. So I thought it's going to take me a while to do this. So what I might as well do is I might as well start getting contractors and design build places and architects and so on and so forth to come in the space and then give bids on the space once they do a walkthrough of it and they see everything. Because I've been getting these, after I gave my list of what I wanted done and I showed them the video of the space and the floor plan, I've been getting estimates of like $380,000, $350,000, $250,000, $100,000, so on and so forth. And the 60 to 70,000 for Guy Who Knows a Guy Inc. Again, Guy Who Knows a Guy Inc. is always going to be about 30% more than they say. So expect maybe $100,000 if I had it done. No permits with Guy Who Knows a Guy, cash under the table kind of thing. Still expensive. But the thing is, I wanted to have the contractors to actually walk through the space. I wanted to have a contractor picked out, ready to file permits on everything. So the day I get keys, bam, they're in and they're starting. So I talked to Alan about it. Alan talked to the building management. He got me the number of the super and other members of building management, which is great. I got the number of the super, and I messaged him, the guy that I did the walkthrough with, and I said, hey, you can see it here. I can't see it because I'm reading from memory, but I'll post it in the edited video. It said, hey, I walked through the space. This is the store I walked through with you the other day. I'd like to have contractors do a walkthrough before I get, we're in lease negotiations. I don't have a key yet. I would like to compensate you and pay you for your time to open the door so that I can let contractors in and then close the door when I leave. Like, what do you think? And he said, yeah, you can do it. It just needs to be done. Just give me some notice, and it has to be during business hours. And I said, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Fair enough. So I scheduled 3 or 4 people to show up on Wednesday of this week. Oreo's making a question mark with his tail. Really, boy? Really, Oreo? Really, Oreo?
This is the unfiltered.
He wants to be on camera. Anyway, so Oreo's making me lose my train of thought. So I have about 3 or 4 people scheduled. I didn't know that Monday was a holiday. Apparently it's Columbus Day, and so I figured I don't want to contact the guy only one business day before because that may not work. So I figured, whatever. So I sent them a message today since I set up the 4th appointment, and I said, hey, remember me? I'm the guy that was looking to rent that space. I just wanted to give you a heads up that this Wednesday I was looking to have some contractors come through at 1 o'clock. Let me know if you'd be able to open the space. Thank you very much. I wasn't expecting an instant response. I wasn't demanding anything of him. I'm trying to be polite. And then I get this message back saying, like, who is this? That's fine. Okay, you didn't save my message the last time I sent it. I'm not worth being saved in your phone. Fine. No offense. I explain who I am. And then he goes, what are you contacting me on Sunday for? Is this emergency? I think not. Not emergency. And like, I have no way of knowing what your hours are. I know people that don't work Saturday and Sunday. I know people like my personal trainer that seem to take off Tuesday and Saturday, but they work the entire day Sunday if their clients will. I know people that work through Christmas. I know people that take off every holiday. I don't really know what days you work and what days you don't. I don't know your hours because I met you once and was given your phone number by somebody else. And he's doing it in this really demeaning manner. Like this, I'm not just going to say no. Because that's the thing. You could set a boundary. You could say, hey, I don't work on Sunday, by the way. Just, I'll speak to you later. Or he could do what I would have done, which is, what I do with my phone when people message me when I don't want to be messaged. I just ignore them. I just ignore you. It's not a day that I work. I'm ignoring you. No, he needs to make sure that I feel like a small, petty piece of shit because I dared ask if I'd be able to get it on Wednesday. And so I messaged him back and I said, listen, I was not expecting an immediate response, nor was I demanding anything of you. But thanks for letting me know that if I had rented this space, it would have been a fucking nightmare working with you. No, bye. Never mind. And Alan is going to be finding a way to explain to the managing agent that I essentially told the super and the building management,
you know what? Fuck you and fuck your family.
Yeah, that exactly. So this is pretty much how I feel regarding that store, that building, and that building's management.
You know what? Fuck you and fuck your family.
I think he did a good job of putting it there. You tried to get me to pay an amount for the deposit that has never been asked of me in pretty much the past 10, 12 years I've been an adult renting retail or residential space or commercial space. B, you tried to get a demolition clause in there. C, you got a 64-page lease with shit like I can't teach classes, I can't put my bicycle in the store, I can't have a goldfish, and now you're pulling this shit. And the thing is, if you had pulled this shit, here's the thing, I'm honestly kind of glad because I have a lot of work that I need to do. I depend on the super when I'm doing construction. There's a lot that I'm going to need your input on. You're going to need to tell me where shit is in the walls. You're going to need to tell me how stuff is, like where panels are and all this. I'm going to need you. And if you're such a cunt that even when I make it clear as day, that you're going to get a $100 bill in cash every single time you're opening the door for me, that this is how much of a dick you're going to be. This ain't going to work. Because Paul also put it to me in another text message saying, a little bit more obviously than I would, that this is not going to work for him, because Paul's also, would have been doing a lot of work in here. And again, Paul's a Marine. He is, a member of the United States Marine Corps. If the super talks to him like that, I can't imagine something good happening, given that the place is next to a police station. I've also instructed Alan, and again, this is going to be his prerogative as to how he wants to handle it with the managing agent or the owners of the building. I would prefer if he tell them, or if he just exclude the part about the super or the building, some of the building management that I had spoken to, if that was not the super. Because I don't like this new thing in the culture where if somebody says something I dislike, that I immediately create a campaign or a crusade to get them fired. I think that we're going a little too far in that direction as a culture, and I don't want to be contributing to that. At the same time, I cannot justify a $1.2 million lease when this is what I'm going to be dealing with. Even when I make it clear, I'm willing to literally pay you to open the door so that my contractor can come in before I get the keys myself. I don't want to contribute to that whole, you pissed me off and you said something I don't like, I'm going to get you fired. Because I don't like that stuff. It's just, I told Alan, can you just tell him I'm not as interested. We lost interest in the deal. We found better. Thank you, but no thanks. I'll be leaving now. Appreciate it, and move on. Alan, sadly, has taken to beating himself up and saying that, I should have taken responsibility to show you the space and should bring the contractors in every single day until you signed a lease. And again, I think that that's going a little far. He's such a good dude. He really is, because he takes accountability and responsibility for things that fall so far outside of his purview of what anybody else would ever consider to be their purview. It's just, he's a good dude. But seriously, there's a lot where I need to work with the super, because there's certain elements of the building that I don't have access to without you. And people may look at this and say, he was just pissed off that he got a message on what was his day off. And that's completely understandable. I respect that. It's not me being peeved at that. It's the way you choose to respond to it. And perhaps somebody could say I'm being a diva. But when I look at the building that I have now, right now I have no heat. This winter, I will have no heat. You may wonder, why don't I have heat? Well, the building no longer has gas because it went on fire when the sushi restaurant next to us had an accident in the kitchen right after Hub NYC purchased the building. And that accident in the kitchen of the not profitable restaurant next door that spent 6 figures on renovating and had no customers and made no money happened in such a way that now they got a vacate order where there's no tenants in the building besides Lewis. Imagine that. Great. It's almost like it's going to be much easier for them to renovate and demolish the building now that they've kicked almost everybody out, except one tenant that's still there, because I'm like a cockroach. Anyway, so there's no gas. So I wanted to get a proper air conditioning system installed, because when it hits 100 degrees in the summer, having 2 window units is A, loud, B, inefficient, but C, above all, not a very good solution. And I wanted to also, B, I wanted to have heat in the winter. Right now, I don't have heat in the winter, and the electrical work at the store is just good enough for us to be able to solder, but it's not good enough for us to be able to solder while I have a bunch of space heaters plugged in. It's just not good enough for that. So I wanted to have something, properly installed and redo the 230-volt wiring to power this thing. I wanted to have a proper split system with heating. The thing is, I need to have access to the backyard, or I need to have access to the roof of the building. Either the roof of the building or the backyard, one or the other, that I need access to do this. And in order to get access to the roof of the backyard, I need to be able to speak to the super and the landlord. Now, when the 100-year-old Korean gentleman that I originally rented the space from, his name is also Alan. His name is spelled similarly to this Alan, but A-L-L-E-N. He was also, good enough. He wasn't a perfect landlord, but by New York standards, he was a damn good landlord. He cared about his building. He cared about his tenants. I could call him on his cell phone, and he was accessible very quickly. Ever since Hub NYC bought the building, that's not possible. But if anybody watching this is looking to move to New York City, either rent either residential or commercial space, check if the building is owned by Hub NYC. If it's owned by Hub NYC, don't fucking rent the space. You will regret it. I'm telling you, you will regret it. It took them weeks to even bring in space heaters after we told them we had no heat. It was 7 degrees in the winter. They come in with these like $20, $30 things they got from the hardware store. But more importantly, I reached out to them in August. And you could see if you scroll through my community posts that I sent them several emails. I tried calling as well and several phone calls asking if I could speak to anybody about getting a split system installed. When I say speak to them about getting a split system installed, I don't mean I'm asking them to pay for it. I'm asking them to literally do nothing other than use their key to open the door so that my contractor that I'm going to be paying $20,000 to can get into the backyard or the roof of the building to install what they need to install. All I need you to do is open a fucking door. And they have never gotten back to me. Even if they said, listen, Lewis, we can't allow you to do that because of this, that, and the other. I'm sorry, that would have been something. It's been 2 months. Actually, let's see. Yeah, it's been 2 months at this point. Nothing. No callback, no voicemail, no email, no text, fucking nothing. And this is what it's like when you have a cunt for a super or a cunt for a landlord. They don't care. If it's 7 degrees and my employees are freezing to death and fucking getting frostbite while they're trying to solder anything, do you think anybody at Hub NYC gives a shit? No, because they are your standard, typical New York City fucking slumlord. That's the way it is. And if I'm getting a glimpse of this right now, I'm not trying to arrange anything crazy. I'm not asking you to do work for me. I'm not asking anything nuts. I'm not trying to speak like a Karen and go, excuse me, I need to get into the space on Wednesday. Can you get back to me? I have not gotten status from you. I have called you several times and I am not... I sent a polite text message saying, hey, just let me know if I'd be able to get in. Thank you very much. By the way, if you are willing to be there and open that door for me, I am going to pay you for it. And I made it clear when I was there with him in person that I would have had no problem giving him a few $100 here and there for the things that I need. That's how you act? Really? Because here's the thing. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to need to install a heating unit. I'm going to need to get to the top of the building. I'm not going to be able to because the super's a cunt. I'm going to need to get into the backyard or something in order to install some sort of ventilation system or maybe to install, I don't know, power to a fire alarm or whatever the fuck. I don't know what I'm going to need to install. But there's going to be something I need to install which is going to require I get access to some part of the building that I need access to. And I'm going to have to deal with the super or the building management. And if you're that much of a cunt, before you have my fucking money, before we have a contract, before we have a lease, what type of cunt are you going to be once I do have a contract with you? Once I am stuck with you for 10 years? Once there is a piece of paper that says if I don't pay you, you can take me to court and take all the shit that I have? Because keep in mind, I'm not just signing a lease. Most of these management and leasing agents now want you to also sign a personal guarantee. A personal guarantee means that even if my company goes bankrupt, you can go after me personally. Which, by the way, I don't have with my current with my lease. With the lease I have right now, if my company goes bankrupt, tough luck Hub or tough luck First Avenue Realty Corp. But here, there would be a personal guarantee. I'm on the hook, personally, from my own bank account for the $1.2 to $1.3 million of that lease. Do I want to be on the line, personally, for $1.2 to $1.3 million to people who have demonstrated that they are cunts? Do I want to be, again, we've already worked through all of this stuff, and I don't feel like going back and forth with you nickel and diming over a 64-page lease to pay $12,833 a month to get access to a space that I will have to pay $100,000 to $300,000 to renovate so that I can deal with people who act like shit. No, I don't want to do it. There's only so much New York I am willing to take when I'm paying this much money. And one of the things that many people have said you have to understand, and is reasonable, is that New York City supers of smaller buildings are cretins to some extent. One of my first shipping people that I hired used to be a super in a building that I used to work next to. I get what it is, He dropped he was a very good guy. He was a good worker. He dropped out, but he dropped out of high school. He was living. They gave this guy. Maybe it's because of the low pay, or maybe it's just because of who looks for the job. But they gave the guy about $1,000 or $1,300 a month and an apartment that was about the size of a broom closet. That you had to go out of the apartment into the hallway just to use a bathroom. And that was him. He was the super. $1,300 a month and a shitty apartment. I get it. You don't get paid a lot, and you have to deal with a lot of shit. I respect it. I understand it. That's why when I reach out to you as politely, patiently, and as understanding as I can. And above all, anytime I need something from a super in my building, I will pay you good money because I understand that you are not being compensated by your boss. You're not being compensated by the landlord. The landlord probably has his... I'm sure the landlord's doing just fine financially. That doesn't always trickle down to the super, and I'm more than happy to give you money because if I give you money, you will make sure that when I have a problem, it's taken care of. I get it. I really do. I understand that with any building I go to in New York City, the super's going to kind of be a cunt. But it's like, how much am I willing to deal with? What is my personal threshold? What is my personal tolerance? And in many ways, I also believe that this may be a blessing in disguise. Steve has continuously suggested that I simply wait. Because there's several things that are occurring all at once. The first is New York has a ridiculous real estate bubble that is going to pop at some point. It needs to. B, there is an economic recession that is coming. If you look at the 2 versus 10-year bond yields and a bunch of other indicators, there is some sort of recession coming. 3, WeWork is going to go back. WeWork is bankrupt. They don't know it yet. They may have not filed yet, but I mean, just do math. Look at how they do business. And they are one of Manhattan's largest commercial tenants. These 3 factors, when they collide and they combine together in the future, that's going to lead to real estate prices in the city crashing, bombing. And there's going to be a lot of deals to be had when this occurs. It's going to be a bit of a cycle. WeWork is losing money. Once WeWork's tenants lose money and then go out of business due to the recession, WeWork will make less money. So not only WeWork is going to have less tenants, they're going to have to find new tenants, but the new tenants they find are going to expect space to be cheaper because real estate is going to go down as the real estate bubble crashes. As the real estate bubble crashes and rents go down, the new tenants that are going to be churning their way into WeWork are going to expect to pay lower rents. But WeWork is not going to be able to charge lower rents because they got stuck in leases 1 or 2 or 3 years ago when the bubble was high and up here. So WeWork's going to be gone. A lot of these startup companies are going to be gone. And with the economic recession, the rents will be lower. So it may be advantageous to me to wait maybe a month, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months. Who knows? But this is not a market where I'm going to take it on the chin when the landlord acts like a piece of shit. When the landlord plays games, when the landlord sends out a 64-page lease, when the landlord wants a deposit based on the last 3 months, when the landlord wants to put it in there that if they decide to demolish the building and kick me out, fuck it, you get a few months of free rent after you put $250,000 of construction in my building, and you're out of here. No. This is a buyer's market. This is a renter's market. And it's about time that I start treating it as such. So what I did is I instructed Alan to tell him, nope, no deal, bye. Just like, I'm not. Don't even do what that restaurant did where you start offering more and more concessions because I left. It's done. I'm out of here. And I also I wrote Alan a check for $2,000. To this point, Alan has put in a stupid amount of work. He has done a lot of research, and he's also the only broker that's continuously conducted himself with integrity. And I think that there should be a reward for that. Even if it's only symbolic in nature, in this case, I feel it should be symbolic and also financial for all the work he's done. I still want to work with him to find a new space, but it's important to me that he understands that I am taking this seriously, and that even though I am a very picky client, that I don't want to be the picky client that pays. I don't want to be the client that gives a $5 tip in the tip jar to help me install Microsoft Office and then takes up 3 hours of the technician's time kind of thing. I want him to understand that I not only want him to make his commission, but if I'm being a pain in the ass, if I'm being picky, that it's worth it, that I'm here for the long haul. I do want to find a new facility. I do value your time. I value your expertise. I value your judgment. And admittedly, I value the time that you put into working with this place for a deal that I just blew up because one super was an asshole. So that's about it. I will see you in the next one. And as always, I hope you learned something. I hope with any luck we find a space that is somewhat better soon because, it is very crowded where I am now. 13 people, 650 square feet. I need to hire more people. But how do I hire more people when 13 people are working in 650 square feet? Doesn't work very well. But my lease is until 2023, And if I'm going to put out an amount of money that's equivalent to the life savings of many of the people watching, I'm just not going to do it to somebody who talks to me like I'm a piece of trash. It's just, I don't have it in me. Perhaps it would be the best thing to do for business. I can't do it. It's not who I am. I don't think that people like Paul would be able to respect me if I were spoken to like that by the individual that Paul's going to be dealing with. I would not expect Paul to look at me the same way, or Steve, or any of the people who work here, who put as much work and effort into this being a great company, staying late, showing up early, putting in ridiculous amounts of effort to learn stuff to better the business that other employees at other companies wouldn't do. I can't expect them to not only just respect me, I can't expect them to respect the business if I let the business get treated like trash like that and decide, yeah, I'm still going to put my life's fucking savings and then some from a business line of credit into this to renovate the space of a group of people that are totally okay treating me like shit before I've even signed the deal. Just, no, I can't do it. Call me petty. Can't do it. Sorry. I can't do it. Fuck that. That's it for today, and I'll see you in the next one. This here is Oreo the cat. Oreo. Oreo. Look at that cat. Look at that little kitty. Say hi, Oreo. Oreo? That's Erica. Erica? She's sleeping. And this is Barry. Who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? Who's such a good little kitty? Oh, you're a good little kitty. You're a good little Barry. Good little Barry.